Hi everyone, it's Danny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with another Confessions of a Paper Addict Cutfiles design team project, and today I'm going to be working on some December daily layouts. So I am working on my title page, and I'm also going to build a few foundation pages for you guys today. So I'm starting with this gorgeous cut file that was actually released last year. This one is called the Stitch Tree cut file, and I thought it would be perfect to make my title page for my December daily this year. So I've gone ahead and cut that out on this really pretty blush pink chevron pattern paper that is from the Hey Santa collection, which I think pretty much all my papers are going to come from that collection this year. And I'm going to go ahead and back it with this dark green pattern paper from the same paper pad. I had originally intended to use a pale like peppermint green. I did try it out. It just, you couldn't really see the stitches because the colors were both quite light, so I did decide to go with the darker green, and it provides a really beautiful contrast against the pink. So I hadn't actually planned on using much of this dark green in my December daily, but I actually have used it a couple of times. I will use it on another one of the foundation pages I'm going to make in this video, and it looks really beautiful, especially against the lighter pinks and mint greens. So yeah, I think I'm definitely going to use that darker green a bit more than I had intended. So I've just gone ahead and measured that out using my little template page there, and I did accidentally trim it a little too close to the cut file on that right hand side there, but I will come in and fix that in a minute to make that look a little more balanced. So my December daily this year is in a traveler's notebook. I did pop rings in. There is a video on that on my channel already if you want to have a look, but basically the size is, it's 8 inches high and it is just a little bit narrower than 6 inches, so it's about 5.25 inches I want to say. I am going to use that December from COAPA Creations. It's an acrylic piece. I really like that. I was going to use those white numbers, but they just weren't quite working for me. They weren't the same white as the acrylic piece, so I'm going to switch those out in a minute. I've decided to use this gold glitter washi tape to just kind of help narrow that page a little bit. It kind of forces your perspective further to the right. It kind of narrows the page down because I have trimmed off, or essentially trimmed off that whole section on the left there, so the cut file looks a bit more centered. I'm going to go ahead and glue down my acrylic piece just with a bit of tacky glue. Right there, it's quite a dimensional piece, but I have a couple of them and I just think they're really, really pretty, and it fits perfectly on my size that I'm using. So I do go ahead here and use these tiny little gold foam alphas, and even though I am working on my 2019 album, I've said it several times in my prep videos, you guys know I'm working on 2019, I do go ahead and put down 2020, and I just had a total mind blank, and you know, it is 2020 now, so yeah, I was just on an autopilot, and I really didn't catch this until way later, well after I'd taken all my photos and everything. So all the photos you guys will see will be the 2020, but I did go in and fix it up eventually when I realized. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue down this pattern paper on the reverse side. This was already in my book as a foundation page, so I'm just going to go ahead and stick that down on the reverse. And I did use glue, especially along the edge of that washi where I folded it over. I just didn't want it to come unstuck and sort of ping up. I find glitter washi and adhesive tape don't mix. The rough texture of the washi just doesn't mix well with tape. I'm going to make a couple of hole reinforcers out of the same green pattern I used to back the tree with, and I've just used a hole punch and then a 1/2 inch circle punch to make those, and I find they work really nicely, and you can just make them out of any color or pattern you like. I'm sticking those down. I will have to repunch those holes in a minute because I didn't quite align. I must have punched the other side not quite right, but I'll fix that in a minute. I'm adding this little star to the top of the tree. That is one of the clear stickers from the Hey Santa collection. It worked just perfectly there, and it's pretty much exactly the same color as the green I've used, so that was a really nice discovery. And that's my title page finished. Yeah, very simple, but I'm really pleased with it, and I love the colors. So the next page I'm working on is this foundation page wreath that I am going to make out of the Wreath Tree cut file, it's called. The links to all these cut files will be in the description box below. But I've gone ahead and cut the wreath out on white, and then I have offset the outline and cut that on the green. Then I mirrored that horizontally, so I just flipped it over and cut that out on the pink kind of salmon color you can see there, so that when I stick these two back to back, they will match each other perfectly. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue those back to back with a bit of tacky glue, just being careful to line it up as close to perfectly as I can. It didn't go quite all the way around just perfectly, but it was close enough for me. I'm not going to be too picky about the tiny sliver of white you can see at the top there. So I love that dark green again. I've used that plaid dark green pattern. I did try again a lighter color for that, but then when I put the white cut file over the top, it just didn't pop enough for me. So I'm really enjoying that darker green. I'm just coming in here, I'm going to back my cut file, and I'm just going to show you a quick tip for cut files like this where you have lots of, you can see all those little berry sections. They're quite teeny tiny small round pieces. I've just used my hole punch to punch out a bunch of those, and they fit perfectly on the back of those little berries. So just a bit of tacky glue, and I can stick all those on, and that saves me cutting out a bunch of teeny tiny fiddly circles. So we skip to there, you can see I backed all those leaves with just a variety of light pinks and mints. And I really like how that turned out. Those light colours and that white cut file really pop beautifully on that dark green of the backing. So I'm just trying to line it up now and get it all lined up with the edge of the cut file. So it's a bit tricky because some of those little berries weren't actually attached to the main cut file. They're floating, so you can see those kind of round bits on the edge that don't have anything on them. So I'll come in a minute with all my loose berries and stick those on there. Again, I'm just using tacky glue. I just find it a little bit easier to work with. It gives you a few seconds of time to move your things around before they're adhered completely, whereas I find that tape sticks instantly and can be a little bit trickier to work with. And glue dries down completely, whereas tape can sort of stay tacky for years. So now I'm just coming in with all my little tiny berries and just adding them all the way around. There's some all the way around the outside, and then there's some loose ones around the inside of the wreath as well that I will also add off camera. I'm not going to make you sit through me putting all these little berries on. It was quite time consuming. I'm just going through with my tweezers and my glue. We'll speed through this in just a second. There we go, skip 2, that's all done. I just love how that looks. So now I'm taking my ruler and I'm just going to go ahead and measure the halfway point, because this is going to be a kind of a flip open page. And you guys will see this later on in the month when I come through and finish off my pages. But as a foundation page, this is just going to go in my little book like this. So I'm just going through and cutting down the center, and the fact that I've used a plaid has helped me line that up as well, because I have those straight lines. But if you have, like me, a cutting trimmer, a paper trimmer that doesn't really cut through many layers, it will only really cut through one layer. What I did around the parts where the cut file was glued on was just carefully score the top layer so that I could see where it was meant to go, and then I used my scissors to cut through those thicker parts. And I'm just adding back on this little tip of leaf that got accidentally trimmed off. And that is going to be my foundation page basically. I just need to punch holes now, and that is going to go in my album just like that. It looks absolutely beautiful, and the fact that I've used 2 pieces, so I used one full piece on the back, you can't see any sort of messy yucky bits on the other side from where I've backed my cut files. So just coming through here and just making sure to line it up really carefully when I punch the holes, because I want it to line up as perfectly as possible when I pop it inside the rings. So now we're skipping to my fun with vinyl. So I'm just coming in with some of this premium vinyl. It's a removable mat, just plain white color. I really love how white looks on transparencies. So I could print on transparencies, but you can't print white. There's no such thing as white ink in a standard photo printer. So I figured the easiest way for me to get white on transparencies would be to use some vinyl. So I just picked up a roll And I am going to use a couple of the cut files, the new ones, to make some vinyl decals to pop onto some transparency. So you can just see I've just gone through and adhered that to my mat. You just pop it down like you would do normal pattern paper. And if you get your settings right, it should all peel off still attached to the backing sheet. If you've never played with vinyl before, I definitely recommend having a go. It's a lot of fun and weeding it is super satisfying. These are really difficult to see because they are on white, unfortunately. I kind of wish I had picked a different color just so you could see the effect, because watching vinyl being weeded, is that correct? Watching vinyl weeding is one of my favorite things to do. It's just really satisfying to watch. That might sound weird. I don't know. I really enjoy it. It's really satisfying. So I'm just coming through now, and I'm using the new hanging baubles cut file, and I've made this pretty much exactly the right size to cover a whole page in my traveler's notebook. And I'm just going through and I'm pulling out all the interior parts on the cut file, so you can kind of see it there. But basically what you want to do is take off all the bits of vinyl except the cut file part that you want to stay on. So you can kind of see it a bit better here once the light changes a little bit and I've moved the piece of vinyl around, but I'm just going through and pulling out all those interior parts, and then I will go around and pull off the kind of large outer section. There we go, that all comes off. And I'm just going to use some plain transparency for this. So I have this pink paisley one that has those pretty snowflakes in the corners there, but the rest of it is just completely plain. And it's a nice thick, good quality transparency. So I'm just going to trim off that piece that I want and borrow that from the whole 12 by 12 piece. And I'll save the rest for another day. And for the other one, I'm going to use this star one that is from the DIY shop. I got it from Spotlight in Australia, but I've seen quite a few people use it last year and this year actually. It's really pretty. It's just gold foiled stars. So this is transfer tape. So once you've weeded your vinyl, you're just going to pop transfer tape down on the top and you're going to burnish it. So I'm just using a spatula or a palette knife, and carefully burnishing that, just making sure it really, really sticks down. And this is actually one of the free cut files in the shop this month, or up on the Facebook group, sorry. It will be in the shop once it's not free in the group anymore, but it's just the Merry Xmas one. So it's just the words Merry Xmas and it's got little stars cut out of it. So just popping transfer tape on top of both of those and then burnishing it. And then I like to flip mine over when I pull it off, but there you go. The vinyl sticks right to the transfer tape. And then again, I like to do it upside down so I can just really see exactly what I'm doing. So I've just laid the transparency onto the transfer tape and burnished it again. And then I can just carefully peel away the tape and the vinyl is on my transparency, just like that. So I'm just going to trim off those excess pieces, and I have those beautiful baubles just hanging straight down from the top of my transparency. And that's just going to sit on top of inside my album on top of a pattern paper and it look really cool. So here's the Merry Xmas one, and just peeling it away. It's so satisfying watching vinyl. So much fun. And this one roller, it was pretty inexpensive. It's really not expensive to get started if you already have your silhouette. All you need is some vinyl and some transfer tape and you're good to go and have a play. So again, just laying on the tape, burnishing and carefully peeling it away. And I did pull out my mat just so I had some lines to line up that text with. So there we go. I love that the stars are cut out of that cut file. It goes so nicely with that star acetate transparency. And you can see how cool these look when they're overlaid over the top of a pattern paper like that. So I'm not 100% sure where they're going to go, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this baubles right in the very last day there over the top of that pink pattern paper. I love how that looks. So there are so many ways to use cut files in your December daily in fun and different ways. I really hope you guys got some inspiration or some ideas from this video. I had a lot of fun making these pages, that's for sure. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to check the description box for the links to these cut files and the Confessions of a Paper Addict cut files Facebook group, where you can find all those freebies. 4 freebies in the group this month, which is pretty amazing. And I'll see you next time. Bye guys.